We wait.
I'm here.
We wait for Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, Coach, we'll just ask you to make an opening statement, and then we'll take some Q&A as long as it lasts. So, go ahead, Coach.
Well, just want to start off by saying I'm very excited about this upcoming season. We've had 4 returning starters that have really put in a lot of work in the off season, and they're just as hungry and determined to get back on the court and to improve upon the program's progress towards the top of the league. And some great newcomers that are just as hungry and driven to get us going. So it's a great day at UIC as always. Everyone's working hard. Everyone's focused on the common goal, and that goal is to win the Horizon League Championship. And we're just staying in the process, making sure that everyone is focused on the same page, on the same goals, and making sure that we're all going in the same direction. And that's been the focus all off season and moving forward. So we're excited.
Coach, last year you guys lost a lot of games, particularly towards the end of the season. What have you guys been working on to improve on that?
Defense. Making sure that those games that we lost, and I just throw this out there. I believe 12 of those games were lost by 5 points or less. So that comes down to execution. Comes down to, like I mentioned, defense, but also taking care of the basketball, valuing each possession. So, if nothing else, that stat should really, stand out to tell you that you've got to value each possession. You've got to execute at a high level, especially in our league, and you've got to be able to defend. When the shots are falling, you've got to be able to get stops, and that's going to be a focus for us.
I would imagine with 4 returning starters, they're going to be the cornerstone of the team in order to make that transition. Am I correct?
Well, they're the first ones we look to because they've got a little bit more experience with hearing my voice, understanding the principles and the philosophy that we work on and we live by every day. And these guys have been around. They've all started a lot of games for us, and we look to them first for leadership, for examples, and the newcomers are all falling in line and following their lead, and I think they've set a good example so far.
With Butler not being in the conference, how does that change the landscape of the competition?
Well, I think our league is still very strong. No matter what, I think we've still got some very good teams in our league. I don't think that changes anything, and I think it also allows the rest of the members of our league to get a little bit more excited about possibilities of what the future entails. I think this is a very strong basketball league. I remember seeing Valpo in Detroit playing for a championship last season, and that's the memory that lasts in my mind when you talk about Horizon League basketball. And a lot of the returning guys are, the guys that from last year they had a lot of success are back for another run. And so we're focused on, trying to catch Valpo, trying to catch Green Bay, trying to catch Cleveland State, Milwaukee, Detroit, and just trying to make UIC relevant in the basketball landscape once again.
You talk about the strength of the Horizon League. What is your opinion about the recent expansion with some of the bigger conferences?
I don't really focus on that at all. I think our league has done everything it can to move forward, and I've been focusing on that as well, and obviously focusing on what UIC needs to do, giving these young men the tools to be successful academically and basketball-wise. So I really haven't, I got to be honest, I really haven't paid much attention to the rest of the basketball landscape because, we've got a big task at hand for ourselves, and we're really focused on UIC and the players that represent this great university.
When you recruit, especially among the public league, how hard is it when you consider the other major schools that are in the area? How hard is it to recruit some of those public league players?
Well, it's always difficult. Everyone's trying to get into Chicago. Everyone's trying to, establish a little bit of a niche within the city. But being in Chicago and born and raised, I think I rely on my relationships more so than just, rankings and recruiting polls and things of that nature. We've got a certain aesthetic for what we look for in a player, and that might not be the same aesthetic for another school outside of the state or even within the small radius of Chicago. So, we just try to go after kids that fit our profile and they help our program get to where we want it to be. Guys that are going to buy into our philosophy of what we want to get done within the framework of UIC basketball.
Gary, with the changes in the travel schedule this year, with the grind that you guys are going to have to go through with the traveling and the classes and everything else, how difficult do you think that'll be both mentally and physically for you?
I think I'll be able to handle it. Coach is going to prepare a great game plan for us, and it's just on us to come out and execute it.
I have a question for each of you, and it'll be a different perspective from the coach and from the player. Howard, how difficult or what happened last year that you didn't anticipate as the first year taking over a program from a coach's standpoint?
Well, Tony, I think that's a good question. A lot of things kind of come up when you take over a program that you may not have foreseen. But I think for the most part, the biggest thing we had to overcome was just the culture of winning and putting that culture back in place. We had hardworking kids. I got to be honest, when we got there, we didn't have kids that we had to deal with off-court incidents, no one going to jail, no one, winding up on the front page of the paper, which was a blessing. But within the framework of a mentality of winning, that's what we had to adjust and help these guys to understand that winning just doesn't take place when you step foot on the basketball court. It takes place before you even get to the court. It's your frame of mind. It's how did your day go academically? Because if you fail a test, you're going to most likely take that on the court with you to practice. So are we prepared academically as well as are we living day to day the right way? Are we eating right? Are we living right? Are we doing the right things, getting our rest? And so just establishing the culture of winning was the first thing we had to address. And then obviously we had to, tweak the roster a little bit to tailor it towards more of the type of kids that we know will be successful within our structured program. And now we feel that we're getting to that point. We feel like after only 2 recruiting classes, we're in a position now where we can really implement what we want to get accomplished as a program. So we're a lot, more comfortable in our skin right now. And obviously going into year 3, and you want to be in that mode as a coach and as a program. And we're excited about the next step, which is winning games.
Coach, you talk about establishing.
Oh,
sorry.
And then
Gary, for kids, coaching changes and changes that go on, how does it affect you? Do you think that's the foundation now you're beyond there and now it's time to take the next step?
Well, actually, this is my first time in my career.
Yeah.
It's my first time in my career where I have the same coach for 2 years straight. So I think I'm kind of used to adjusting, but last year it was just, trying to figure out what Coach Moore liked, the things he liked to do, his state of mind. But as far as adjusting, I've been having to do that my whole life. So.
Coach, you talk about establishing the culture of winning. Loyola's always had a long-standing rivalry with UIC. The last few years have been difficult against Loyola. How important is it to beat them this year?
Well, it's important every year, but it's also important to win recruiting battles. It's also it's also important to establish a home court advantage. And we split with them last year, so it wasn't that difficult. I think, we caught them at their place in a very desperate situation where, they hadn't won a game in Horizon yet. And that's a very difficult opponent to play where, they want to win. And, obviously we were reeling a little bit at that time. We were kind of disappointed with our season. And, they caught us at a tough time. But, every program is improving. Everyone in our league has improved this offseason. Everyone is trying to, take a couple steps forward, and we're not focused on just one team. We're not focused on just Loyola. We're focused on everyone. We're looking at ourselves and everyone in our league and seeing how we match up, and can they handle this that we do, and can we handle this with what they do, and making sure that the biggest thing with us is that we're improving every day, and that's what we focus on. Are we becoming a better defensive team every practice? Are we taking care of the ball a little bit better today than we did yesterday? And executing and doing all the small things that help you win games.
Howard, I asked Porter this question too. With the changing perception about Horizon from the outside, without Butler, Chicago is a major market. We've talked for years about how college basketball is just kind of waiting for touchdown here. Do you kind of look at the opportunity here to really stamp a face on the horizon in Chicago? And is that one of the, those dream goals you have, aside from improving the program right now?
Absolutely. No, Tony, you hit it right on the money. And again, when you talk about, the absence of a certain team, what does that bring? Well, the first thing I think about is it brings opportunity. And that opportunity goes beyond wins and losses. It goes to the landscape of our league. And the biggest market within our league is the Chicago market. And being one of the two members of the league from Chicago, I want to be that team that becomes the face of the league. And so, we feel that the first thing you have to do is you have to take care of your house. Make sure your house is clean. Make sure that everything's in order there before you worry about the rest of the neighborhood. But our neighborhood is pretty good, and it's a strong neighborhood. And we feel that the brand that we bring can be a very strong one because they've had success before, and it hasn't been that long ago. Where Coach Collins had those guys marching and dancing in March, we're not far from there, and we just got to keep working and keep working the process every day. And so, you're right on the money when you mention how this market can really help the Horizon League grow, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And we take it on full-heartedly. And we would love to be that team that leads this market. I'm sure Porter would like to do the same thing. And why can't both teams be very good and make this a very tough venue to come into for opposing teams? When they come to the Chicago Swings, obviously the travel partners aren't in place this year, but when people come to Chicago, we want this to be, the trip that they really dread. And hopefully that'll come definitely from the pavilion standpoint.
Also, that state thing is a little bit out of the Horizon League. The UIC playing Illinois, high-profile game, those kinds of games, or that game in particular, kind of reimburse things for you too.
Yes, it can. And we really look forward to those types of situations and those venues. It's important for our league as well. When Green Bay beat Wisconsin a few years ago up in Resch, and unfortunately I was on the wrong end of that game. But looking back, I'm sure that was a big boost for the Horizon League as well as Green Bay, and it led to a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. When we play Illinois, it's a nice thing. And obviously it worked out in our favor as well in that particular venue, and it was the only bright and shiny moment I can remember from that season. But I think the biggest thing is it allows the Horizon League to really be put on a good platform. And it's going to be a competitive game no matter what the results. And, I know our student athletes look up to it, our coaches look up to it. And if we can come out on top in those situations, it's just even better for our brand as a league. And we're always looking for those matchups. So we'll continue that next season as well.
You can't outright do a Big Ten Horizon League challenge, but we have Green Bay plays Wisconsin, Milwaukee plays Marquette, plays
Wright State has played Ohio State.
Wright State
And Cleveland State will play.
And Cleveland State will play.
Yes.
We play Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Can that
For
be kind of, yeah, right. And the other Michigan schools too. Right?
Absolutely.
Can that be kind of a de facto?
We'll claim it. I'm sure the Big Ten won't claim a challenge with us. They'd rather the ACC deal, but I think I just always think that the big brother, little brother syndrome is always good for college basketball. And as you know, most fans would love to see the little brother get the upper hand on the big brother, and it always makes for a good story. And it's always a good game because. They want to keep the stronghold on the state as the bigger school, and we're always trying to prove a point as the smaller school. Right. And historically, it's always been, been very interesting when these matchups take place.
I bring it up because there are a lot of times I think of the last year, I think of moments involving the schools. There was the outpost moment, the famous first street moment. the Butler, they went to the Final Four. For Loyola, I know there were times a few years ago when they upset Butler. Dan Butler was nationally televised. There's those moments that teams can focus. Detroit has a great guard that the pros look at. You know, you come to some of your games and the pro scouts are there. I guess for the league, then subconsciously, those are those moments you kind of have to seize. Am I right? When you're playing a bigger, the quote unquote higher profile schools.
Absolutely. You know, and we're going to be down in St. Thomas this year, playing New Mexico. You know, it's going to be a nationally televised game on CBS Sports Network. You know, that's one of those moments that you could possibly have.
Right.
You know, and there's a lot of those situations, you know, within a season when you play that team that no one expects you to win, and all of a sudden you find a way. And that's what we're trying to attain within our program now. Just find a way. You know, that's why we're really heavily relying on our defense to give us a chance. And then obviously, I mentioned the turnovers or lack thereof, so you can always have an opportunity to be there when it's all said and done. So, you know, just playing smart basketball, you know, just trying to stay within possessions, you know, when you're playing a team that you're supposedly, you know, overmatched by, and just giving yourself an opportunity late in the game to just, you know, pull out a victory. And that's what college basketball is all about. You know, Dick Bennett made a statement when I was a player in Wisconsin that really made a lot of sense, was that the NBA has the players. They've got the personalities. But college will always have the game. And that's something you can never take away from college athletics. No matter, you know, if a guy leaves after 1 year or 2 years, you know, March Madness will always be madness. And that's the fun thing about college sports, especially college basketball.
I forgot about, you know, some big Phoenix moments and UIC upset Michigan State.
Yes,
2 years back.
in the pavilion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sherelle Ford.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
No question.
Gary, talk a little bit about the mental challenges of the Hill, you know, the weekly conditioning practice you guys employ in the month of October.
The Hill, that's a good question, Greg. The mental conditioning, I mean, it's like you say, it's all mental. You can do so many, but if you got mental toughness, you'll get through it, and it's only going to help us on the court. You know, when we get to what Coach calls it, the dog days, that's when you got to rely on your mentality. So I think it helped us in the long run.
What's the difference between running it for the first time a few weeks ago to wrapping it up today?
Well, the difference is you're more in shape. so you just get acclimated to it when you first start running the hill. But after so long running, when you do so many, it becomes better because you're already mentally prepared the day before or the morning before you start.
Coach, talk a little bit about how that was employed. I know it was under Coach Ryan that you learned about that philosophy.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I kind of robbed from Coach Ryan, and something that we've just implemented in our program because I just really like the fact of challenging our guys mentally as well as physically. And Gary hit it right on the money. It's more mental than anything else. You know, when you're in February and you know your body's tired and you think you're hurt and you think you got injuries, everyone else has those same things. So what is going to be that one hurdle that's going to allow you to overcome that? And referring back to what you did at the Hill is a good reference to say that I can overcome anything that comes up throughout the duration of the season. So, you know, the Hill is a good team builder as well. It allows the guys to galvanize around one thing, and that's beating this Hill. And, you know, to the credit of our players, they crushed it. I mean, this morning they were out at that Hill. There was no daylight yet. I mean, it was 5:45 this morning, and they were out there in pitch darkness, running that hill, and they didn't know where the holes were to watch out for their ankles or anything, and they attacked it. I mean, you know, watching Matt Gorski run that hill in about 10 seconds, you know, almost 10 seconds flat was impressive. And Gary and the other seniors, you know, those guys went after it because it was their last one. And they really went at it. They went at it hard, and they got it done. And the last one, we always do 20 on the last day. And the whole program, coaches included, except for me because I'm already up there, run that last hill together. And we finished on top as a group and as a team. And that's the way we like to do things as a team. And so I think it really set the tone for what we want to do. But, just talking to Gary as we were leaving the Hill this morning, I thought he hit it right on the head when he said that, Coach, this is nothing. This is just the beginning. This is just the start. And I like that approach, and I like that coming from my senior point guard. So I'm very excited about the possibilities that can come out of the season for the UIC Flames.
You guys got anything else?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.